In the headlines, fire service advises all to adhere to basic fire safety practices as fire destroys parts of Achimota forests.
Bank of Ghana refutes reports of keeping monies of microfinance companies whose licenses have been revoked.
And Kenya crackdown on sex talk and preacher shows on the airwaves. A very good evening to you. You're welcome to the studios of GBC 24 here in the capital. This is News Hour. My name is Selikem Akola Chiapalu.
And my name is Akpene Avo Ajaja. Clement Sam is also here with us. He will do the sign language translation of the news.
And now the news in detail. Fire today swept through the Achimota forest, burning a large portion of it. The fire, which started around 11:45 a.m., took personnel of the Ghana National Fire Service an hour to quench.
Eyewitnesses say they suspect the activities of some unscrupulous persons in the area to start the fire. When the news team got to the scene, almost 1.5 hectares of the forest had been razed by the fire. The Greater Accra Regional Chairperson of the Forestry Commission, Madam Edith Ansa, attributed the cause of the fire to activities of weed smokers in the forest. She said some staff of the Forestry Commission who detected the fire when it started tried to quench it, but it got out of hand. They then called the Ghana National Fire Service to intervene. It took the National Fire Service about an hour to bring the fire under control. The fire has destroyed the Tetekwashi to La Paz stretch of the forest. The manager of the Forestry Commission says the land has lost some nutrient and the conservative nature of the forest, which also serves as tourist attraction, has also been destroyed.
Management of the Ghana National Fire Service has cautioned the general public to adhere to basic fire safety practices to avoid incidents of fires during this Harmattan season. A statement issued by the fire service also advised smokers to ensure that cigarettes are properly extinguished before they are disposed of. It says if for any reason anyone has to do so, there should be control, and he or she should seek assistance of the fire service before it gets out of hand. And in other news, a delegation from the National Development Planning Commission, NDPC, led by its Director General, Dr. Nimoy Thompson, has paid a courtesy call on the police administration to present the current state of the development plan and to inform the police of the beginning of the second phase scheduled to start in February. That second phase will involve a series of engagements with various organizations in both the government and private sector to seek their input into the 40-year plan.
The first phase of the project saw the Commission holding national consultations with sections of the general public in all 10 regions of the country to solicit their views on what they wanted in the development plan. The findings from these were sent to Parliament in December last year. According to the Director General of the National Development Planning Commission, Dr. Nimoy Thompson, the second phase, which is more technical, will see the Commission meet various organizations, including the police, on their role in the development planning process.
On some level, there can really never really be real development without peace and stability, and the police obviously is on the forefront of promoting that. And so we thought we should come and pay this courtesy call on you and give you a sense of what we've done and what is in store for all of us, and ultimately the role of the police itself.
He said the plan is to start from 2018 to 2057, and it is broken up into 10 four-year plans to coincide with Ghana's 100th anniversary celebration.
First installment of the 40 years will actually begin in 2018 and end in 2021, and then another one until we reach 2057, when Ghana will turn 100 years old. So we've planned it to coincide with the celebration of Ghana's 100th anniversary. That's not to say that we're all going to be here, but at least for our children's sake, it's good for us to think into the future.
The IGP COP John Kudalo pledged the support of the police to the process.
As far as the police stations are concerned, in our plan. We're even looking for what we call the prototype stations, which we are going to start any moment from now. So let's get your plans as soon as possible, because we are almost going to break the ground any moment from now to have our prototype police stations take off.
The delegation presented some items, including write-ups on the 40-year development plan to the police administration.
To the Upper West region now. 8 years after its creation, the road network in the Lambusi-Kani district is still in a bad shape. The roads in the district are very difficult to travel on, especially during the rainy season. The situation hinders movement of people and foodstuffs to the market center in the district capital, Lambusi.
The Lambusi-Kani district was carved from the Jirapa district in 2007, with Lambusi as its district capital. As a younger district, it is faced with numerous challenges. They include lack of infrastructure in the areas of health, education, water and sanitation, as well as good roads. However, the central government has provided the district with a polyclinic, while the construction of a day senior high school is also near completion. The district assembly is putting up a story building office accommodation being funded from its common fund. Speaking to GBC 24 after the celebration of Mefielek Festival of the chiefs and people of the Lambusie traditional area, the paramount chief of Lambusie, Koro Salifutange, commended the government for the numerous development projects provided the district. Koro Tange, however, complained about the bad nature of roads, which he said impedes the speedy development of the districts.
From Lambusie here through below to Hamile, terrible. Even between the short distance between Hamile and Kopa and Bangor.
The regional minister, Alhaji Amidu Suleimani, identified poor performance of the awards at the Basic Education Certificate Examination (BECE) as one of the challenges facing the district.
We will continue to roll out these poor performances that come year in and year out in the region. The Upper West region will continue to remain the poorest in the country as we are at the moment. We'll be able to climb out of poverty.
He therefore asked the chiefs to assist key sectors in the educational sector to find a lasting solution to the problem.
Some chiefs in Sheshi Jaboso, the capital of the Jaboso district of the Western region, have expressed worries about the low pace of road rehabilitation works currently ongoing in the district. The construction works form part of the government's Cocoa Roads program in the country.
The Ghana Cocoa Board collaborated with the government to introduce the Cocoa Road Rehabilitation Program. This was to improve on the transportation of cocoa beans to buying centers. At two separate derbes at Sefwi Asanwenso and Sefwi Dwaboso in 2015, President John Mahama cut the sword to start work on the construction of roads in the cocoa growing areas of the Dwaboso Bia district in the Western region. He said improving on such roads will open up cocoa growing areas and also make it easier for farmers to transport their produce to market centers. Good roads would also ensure that the people have easy access to health and educational facilities. Among the rehabilitated roads under this phase in the Western region are construction of Bechima Junction to Osekojo Krom Road. But some chiefs in the Dwaboso Bia district are concerned about the slow pace of the construction. According to Nana Etua Kwame II, chief of Kantankrobo, no machine work was done at the beginning of Bechema Osekojo Krom Road. He said the contractor has not been on site for months, making it difficult for inhabitants and travelers. A driver, Same, spoke to GBC 24.
Some of them are contractor. Now you have machine be our coins. You have machine be our coins. And I said, I'm going to cast no more death to the US and the beer boy.
The chiefs and people are therefore appealing to the government to compel the contractor to speed up the project and complete it on time.
The People's National Convention (PNC) says it is gearing up for victory in the upcoming general elections. The re-elected presidential candidate for the party, Dr. Edward Nasigiri Mahama, was on GBC 24's current affairs program iBlogger to offer solutions to some of the problems facing the country.
When you offer yourself, you sacrifice. I'm making sacrifice, which I think Ghanaians deserve from anybody who is leading, sacrifice of the kind of leadership that I'm offering. PNC didn't ask me to come back just because they like my face. They saw the exemplary, sacrificial leadership with integrity, leadership by example that I gave them. And that's why they keep telling Ghana, you need this man, you need this man. Because as you said, we all know the corruption is there. We're doing nothing about it. We all know the garbage is there. The gutters are littered with garbage. We need to do something about it. Nothing is being done. People are hawking on the street. Something needs to be done. We are not doing it. Why? As president, the things that keep doctors out of Ghana, I will reverse it. For example, I'm a doctor. I shouldn't be an electrical engineer. But with Dumso, I've had to be an electrical engineer. I have to make sure that there is fuel in the generator. I have to make sure that it is serviced. These are the things that mitigate against it. And I'm sure if you come to my clinic, I'll show you the record I have been keeping of lights off, lights on. Since 1992, I've been keeping this record. And it's getting worse. I want to tell you my campaign theme so people of Ghana can really hear me clearly. I said new beginnings, restructuring the civil service, public service to be responsive to the people. They think they are still catering for the colonial government. No, you and I are paying their taxes, okay? I'm talking about a new deal. That's what I'm going to do for the farmers of Ghana, so that in 2-3 farming seasons, the 600 million we are spending on rice importation will be halved. I'll lead them to go into rice farming, and we have it. If the $300 million goes into Ghanaian farmers' pockets, you know what that means. They can build story buildings for their accommodation instead of shacks. So the new deal will not only be for farmers, it will be for teachers. Because when I was growing up, teachers were the most respected. Today, teachers are the least respected.
You heard PNC presidential candidate Edward Mahama on our program iBlogger. Moving on to the Volta region, the people of Fojuku traditional area in the Northern district of the region have celebrated their maiden and annual Gligba festival. They renewed their commitment to improve educational standards in the community and appealed for the provision of potable water.
The people of Fojuku were among the Ewes who escaped the tyranny of King Agokoli I of Noche. The story is told of one of the chiefs of the area, Togbe Efue, who went on a hunting expedition but never returned. A search party found him dead. His death and consequent search drew the people to their new settlement, which was named Fojuku. The people then lived at Fojuku until 1981, when they had to be resettled again at their current community as a result of the construction of the pond dam. According to the chiefs and people of Fojuku traditional area, the relaunch of the celebration of the Gligbaza marks the celebration of the determination and bravery displayed by their forefathers during the reign of King Agokoli I. The paramount chief of Fojuku Traditional Council, Togbe Afum Asari's message was on compensations and provisions of basic social amenities to make life easier for the people. The North Tong District Chief Executive, Delphia Fafa Agbai, spoke about the high rates of teenage pregnancy in the area and cautioned men who put them in the family way. The Deputy Minister for Education, Mr. Samuel Okujetu Ablakwa, said parents must educate their wards to secure their future. He said the government is working on their concerns, especially in the provision of water and other basic social amenities.
Back in the national capital, the General Secretary of the GPRTU, Mr. Issa Khalitha, says transport unions are now computing figures to meet the sector ministry next Thursday to determine if the status quo will remain or there will be a review.
He told Radio Ghana that the meeting between the Transport Ministry and the transport unions was inconclusive because the unions are considering increasing in insurance premiums and fees for licensing vehicles, which will have a toll on their businesses.
You're watching News Hour live on your All News channel and GBC 24.
We'll take a quick break. When we return, Morris Ogbete will join us with the business news. Do stay.
It's the first Friday of 2016 and the last working day of the week. We'll talk business live on GBC 24 and GTV. My name is Morris Ogbete. The Bank of Ghana has denied reports that it is keeping deposits of customers of microfinance and money lenders whose licenses have been revoked. To the contrary, the central bank says the deposits of these companies are lodged with commercial banks in their areas of operation.
The last couple of weeks have seen headlines dominated by issues on irregularities found by the central bank in the operation of microfinance companies across the country. So far, 70 of them have had their licenses revoked. The Bank of Ghana says the 70 that have had their licenses revoked were given what it termed approval in principle licenses, but that does not give them the permission to commence business. This implies that if one has done business with any of these 70, then they risk losing their monies because they did not have the right to operate. On the other hand, these companies can bounce back if they meet all the requirements of the regulator. According to the first Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Mr. Millicent Nan, so far 468 microfinance companies have been given a green light to operate, 67 money lenders and 11 financial NGOs.
The granting of an approval in principle is not a license to operate. We are just saying to you that preliminarily you have satisfied the requirements in terms of what we need to process your application, and therefore there are additional things that you need to do or put in place before we can give you the final approval.
The Bank of Ghana says it has scaled up the minimum paid up capital of microfinance and money lending companies from 500,000 and 300,000 Ghana cedis respectively to 2 million Ghana cedis. The deadline for existing companies in honoring the new paid-up capital is December 2018, while new entrants will have to pay this amount before they will be given approval to commence business. This is to avoid some of the problems that has bedeviled the operations of DKM.
DKM, Diamond Microfinance Limited, had been misreporting to the Bank of Ghana and has not been keeping accurate and reliable records, accounting records of all transactions in its books. Despite several discussions, correspondence and undertakings made by DKM Diamond Microfinance Limited to reduce its interest rates to sustainable market rates, it continued to pay unsustainable interest rates of between 50% to 55% per quarter on its deposits. These high interest rates were used to entice new depositors in order to meet maturing deposit liabilities.
The role of microfinance companies in bringing financial services to the doorsteps of the rural population cannot be overlooked. To this end, the central bank is urging Ghanaians not to assume that every microfinance company is fraudulent, because without them, the wheels of the rural economy will grind to a halt. Edward Nyakun, reporting for GBC 24.
The Director General of the West African Monetary Agency, Professor Mohamed Ben Omar Ndiaye, says ECOWAS will find it difficult to meet the 2020 deadline for the implementation of the single currency due to the inability of member countries to meet the macroeconomic convergence criteria.
Our budget deficit has always been the challenge for almost all the countries. What we need to do is rationalization of expenditure, mainly expenditure on the government. And also, I think what we need to do is to work on price stability. The central bank has a role to play, but also we have the fiscal side also too, that is under the responsibility of the Minister of Finance, that should also play a role. So that's why we need what we call harmonization of monetary policy and fiscal policy. So central bankers and Minister of Finance should work together so as we can have an harmonized monetary policy and fiscal policy. A single currency, even if we get there, it will be difficult to manage. A single currency is something that is you have to manage all over, every time, before, when you get there, and after. That's why it is difficult. It will be always difficult.
Meanwhile, finance ministers and central bank governors in the Economic Community of West Africa, ECOWAS, are meeting in Accra to discuss the status of the macroeconomic convergence criteria, exchange rate development, and the roadmap for the implementation of the single currency.
The West African Monetary Agency, WAMA, is a specialized autonomous body of the ECOWAS Community of West African States, ECOWAS, responsible for the furtherance of monetary cooperation among member states. WAMA has the mandate to ensure the monitoring, coordination and implementation of the ECOWAS Monetary Cooperation Program. It also has the mandate to encourage and promote the application of market-determined exchange rates for intra-regional trade, initiate policies and programs on monetary and economic integration, and ensure the establishment of a single monetary zone in West Africa before 2020. This will ensure the establishment of a common West African Central Bank and the launching of a single currency for the West African Monetary Zone. It will also facilitate trade integration, financial sector integration, payment systems, and statistical harmonization. With 4 years to go to the implementation of these objectives, members are in Accra to review how the agency performed in 2015 and also see how they can effectively implement their objectives to meet the 2020 deadline. The Director General of the West African Monetary Agency, WAMA, Professor Mohammed Ben Omar Ndiaye, said the growth rate for the sub-region for 2015 were satisfactory.
The slowdown compared to 2014 may have been shameful on account of a slump in the prices of key export products, which affected income level and consequently consumption in private investment in some countries of the region.
The Director of Multilateral Surveillance of the ECOWAS Commission, Dr. Nelson Magbagbuela, charged members to come out with a working document that will help the sub-region achieve its objective of a single monetary zone soon.
The ECOWAS Monetary Cooperation Program remains a priority program of ECOWAS. ECOWAS Commission is committed to its successful implementation that will lead to the launch of a single currency in 2020.
The Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Ghana, Mr. Millicent Nah, appealed to members to work with speed to enable the agency implement its objectives and policies to help ECOWAS achieve its objective of a single currency.
Given the competitive international investment environment, there is growing need for us to leverage on our strengths and remain competitive. And what better way to do that than to integrate to form the large economic bloc that we aspire to.
Members of the West African Monetary Agency's 28th Joint Ordinary Session are expected to come out with a document that will clearly spell out the way forward to implement its projects before the 2020 set targets.
On the interbank market today, the cedi remained resilient against the pound sterling and the US dollar. After firming to the dollar, it gained a peso against the pound sterling to close trading at 5 cedis, 55 pesos. We also get latest price of gold, cocoa and oil on the international commodities market. News hour continues after this break. Stay with us.
Thanks for staying with us on News Hour. Now to what's happening within the health sector. The 7-member technical committee set up by the government to review the health insurance scheme NHIS has promised to work hand in hand with stakeholders and the public to come up with infallible solutions that will help to redesign and improve the scheme. Speaking at a forum organized by the committee in Accra, the chairman, Dr. Chris Etim, said only elements that are working well in the scheme will be retained.
The 7-member technical committee was constituted to review the National Health Insurance Scheme with a view to strengthening it. The committee is mandated to look at the increasing cost of healthcare to NHIS subscribers as well as the financial resources allocated to the scheme. The committee has 6 months to submit its report. Though the NHIS has come to help the financing of healthcare in the country, it has faced a number of challenges. For instance, the high and increasing cost of healthcare placed the NHIS under severe financial pressure. This has rendered the scheme unable to pay claims to healthcare providers on time. These are part of the reasons why the committee was set up to make the NHIS more efficient and sustainable.
We have a responsibility to ourselves to take our time to actually produce workable solutions and try to ensure that we don't make any mistakes. We don't go back and design the scheme in a way that will produce the kinds of problems that we are seeing today. We should actually ask the fundamental question, does the country have the resources to be able to make this scheme work? If not, how can we redesign the scheme to ensure that we have a core guaranteed package that everybody can have access to without having, undergoing, distress when they have needs for this service?
Since 2005, the cost of providing healthcare to NHIS subscribers has increased faster than the financial resources allocated to the scheme. Currently, 69% of NHIS registered subscribers, including SNP contributors and pensioners, persons under 18 years, persons 70 years and above, pregnant women, indigents, LEAP beneficiaries, specially designated persons living with disability, were exempted from paying premiums. The medical director at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital, Dr. Kwesi Osei, voiced out some of the problems involved in the care for the mentally ill patients.
Our recommendation to the insurance scheme as we are reviewing it is that mental health should be covered, mental conditions should be covered and listed as among the conditions to be covered by the insurance. However, if somebody by virtue of the mental illness, how long he has had it and the severity of it is such that he does not have money to pay for the premium, then such a person should be considered as an indigent, and then we should register him without he having to pay the premium.
Some participants raised concerns about the quality of drugs prescribed for patients. They called on the scheme to ensure that NHIS card holders are given the best of care.
And now to our health diary for today. A yellow fever outbreak is reported to have killed 3 people in the West Gonja district of the northern region. According to sources, 12 others infected by the disease are being nursed at the hospital. The Ministry of Health has said it is making efforts to contain the disease. Yellow fever is transmitted by infected mosquitoes, and latest outbreak follows an outbreak of pneumococcal meningitis in Brohani, a town in the Bono Ahafo region. Let's find out more about this disease, yellow fever.
During the first 3 to 6 days after you've contracted yellow fever, which is the incubation period, the patient won't experience any signs or symptoms. After this, the infection enters an acute phase. At the acute phase, the patient may experience signs and symptoms including fever, headache, muscle aches, particularly in the back and the knee. The patient can also be sensitive to light, feel nausea, vomiting, or both. The patient would also experience loss of appetite, red eyes, face or tongue, or feel dizzy. Although signs and symptoms may disappear for a day or two following the acute phase, some people enter the toxic phase, which is often fatal. This time round, the acute signs and symptoms become more severe and life-threatening. Subsequently, yellowing of the skin and the widening of the eyes, abdominal pain and vomiting, sometimes of blood, are also experienced. There are also decreased urination, bleeding from your nose, mouth and eyes, slow heart rate, liver and kidney failure, brain dysfunction including delirium, seizures and coma. There's no specific treatment for yellow fever. Treatment is aimed at reducing the symptoms for the comfort of the patient. Vaccination is the most important preventive measure against yellow fever.
And that wraps up our health segment for today. When we return from the break, we'll bring you the international news. Do stay. It's still News Hour.
Welcome back to the news. In the international segment, Kenya has published new broadcast regulations which will place strict limits on sexual content and ban preachers from soliciting money on air. Kenya's Communications Authority says explicit content will only be allowed on the airwaves between 22 hours and 5 hours in order to protect children. Broadcasters have until June to comply with the new rules. Reports say this is the first time a concerted effort has been made to censor Kenya radio stations. The new rules apply to programs as well as advertisement, program listings and promotions. Popular radio stations in the country often broadcast explicit content during peak hours to attract audiences. Many listeners say they are happy that the authorities are now taking steps to censor inappropriate material.
And outside Africa, Belgian prosecutors believe they have found a Brussels apartment where one of the Paris jihadists hid after the November attacks. In an apartment in the Sherbik district, police found traces of explosive, handmade belts and a fingerprint of fugitive Saleh Abdel Salam. The apartment had been rented in a false name that might have been used by a person already in custody. Islamic State suicide bombers killed 130 people in Paris in November last year. And coming up shortly, Theophilo Sampa will join us with the sports news.
Sports now. Good evening. I'm Theophilo Sampa. This is in partnership with Tobinco Pharmaceuticals Limited, producers of Lonat. Now, the Ghana Police Service has honored 25 members of the female hockey team. The team won silver at their first attempt in a recently held Hockey Africa Cup of Nations Club Championship in Lusaka, Zambia.
Outstanding last year, They won 3 major trophies: the Beige Capital Hockey Knockout, the President Atta Mills Memorial Cup, and the Hockey League trophies. This propelled the team to participate in the 2015 Hockey Africa Cup of Club Championship held in Lusaka, Zambia. Being their first time, the officers defied the odds and won silver after losing 3-2 on penalties to Telkom Orange of Kenya. Back home in Accra, the hierarchy at the Ghana Police Service has patted the back of the 25 hockey players at a ceremony. They were presented with special medals. The Inspector General of Police, John Kudalo, praised the team for their efforts and charged them to go for more trophies.
Gallant women paraded here today, hoisted the flag of the police service high on the continent of Africa, and for that matter, made Ghana proud in faraway Zambia. Those who excel in their various fields of endeavor be encouraged not only to motivate them, but also to bring the necessary laurels to the police service in particular, and the country in general.
A representative of the Ministry of the Interior, Mrs. Adelaide Anokumi, congratulated the team and said there is more room for improvement. Captain of the side, Inspector Rejoice Noy, said they are humbled by the recognition given them.
Yeah, what I have to say is we thank the Inspector General of Police and the whole administration. We thank the Ghana Hockey Association. They also played their part very well. And I'll take this opportunity to thank my teammates, my colleagues. If were not because of them, we would have come this far.
Officials in charge of the team say they will not rest on their oars, but will strive for excellence.
In basketball, St. Augustine's College and Agri Memorial Girls are winners of the 2016 Senior High School Basketball Championship. They went away with trophies and goodies from sponsors, as well as a trip to South Africa.
The TI Ahmadiyya girls team secured 8 points against the Kumasi girls to take the third position. Opoku in the boys category were third after they outplayed their Pope John's counterpart. Accra Wesley girls in green and Agri Memorial girls in their white jerseys went head-to-head in their game, but the Agri team eventually won the game by 1 point to come tops in the girls division. It was a clash of the titans as the St. Augustine team played defending champions Infantipim School. Both teams exhibited great play, skills and strength. It was then time to prove their mettle, and the St. Augustine team was on the better side. They pummeled their opponent with 37 baskets.
Mancha with the rebound, gets the ball. Dribble.
Although they lost against Infantipim School, Amos Ni Ashite Olenu of the St. Thomas Aquinas team was voted the fans' favorite.
Right now, I feel good. And first of all, I thank God for how far you have brought me. And I thank my friends.
Dennis John Dogbenu of St. Augustine School was voted best male player, while one of the Agri team players was voted best among the females. The event is held every year to help develop basketball among senior high schools.
And so before we wrap up, remember that tomorrow GTV Sports Plus is bringing you the continuation of the ongoing Top 6 by the Galka game, and Kumasi Asante Kotoko will be meeting Obuasi Ashgold. And so make a date, and that's all for sport.
Hello, good evening. Time for the art segment. My name is Valerie Danso. A man whose creative skills have put the name of Ghana on the world's map, the late Professor Francis Ni Iyate, passed away in India on the 26th of November 2015. In honor of him, a night of tribute and performances has been held at the National Theatre in Accra.
Teacher, researcher and consultant Professor Yate died in India while performing with a group of dancers. The night of tribute and performance was therefore witnessed by personalities in the arts across the globe. The program opened with a candle procession. Songstress Yaya then gave a soothing performance.
You are my heaven on earth. You are my last, my first, and then I hear this voice.
Tributes were read by friends and colleagues of the late professor.
Something about mystery carved into every tombstone in all the graveyards of this earth. The blandest of the soul blow of my boy. My candle alone knows my midnight toil.
The Ghana Dance Ensemble performed the Musu and the Lost Warrior, which were directed by the late professor. Yebibi Groma, Noyam African Dance Institute and the National Dance Company also performed. The director of the National Theatre, Madame Amy Apia Frimpong, talked about the late Professor Ni Iyate.
I remember him because he always pushed for high artistic quality.
The funeral of the late Professor Francis Ni Iyate will take place tomorrow at the State House here in Accra.
Kizomba dance has its origin in Angola. Kizomba combines elements of European ballroom dance with African style. Many see the dance, which is mostly performed in Latin-speaking countries, as a form of therapy for persons that are stressed. Kizomba Dance Festival was organized to entertain and educate people about the importance of the dance. The night saw first-timers giving some lessons on the basic Kizomba steps. Patrons who had partners had their turn to show off their skills.
None of this against me, no, no. When you left.
Regular entertainers in Kizomba performed a choreography.
Turn the music to hear that sound. Let's get loud, let's get loud.
The night also saw a fashion show by Lazarino Fashion House. Ebo Addison and Nana Kwatima, who introduced the dance to Ghana, spoke to GBC 24.
Do Kizomba, you don't need any energy at all. You need very little energy. So you can be 70, you can be 80, and then you do Kizomba very well.
Kizomba has also improved me mentally because of the songs, and then there's how the dance goes. It's really a stress-relieving dance.
The Afrikiko Kizomba dance is held every Thursday and is open to the general public.